do you have any suggestions on when to utilize a bunt versus allowing the players to swing? This will be for our 11U team. I know it depends on the game situation, but how do you determine a sacrifice is worth getting a base runner around versus allowing the hitter to take a swing?
I think this is a good question because a lot of people, when you even talk about the word bunt, there's so many coaches out there that bash bunting, and think kids should just hit and never sacrifice. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you practice bunting in practice in order to make sure that when you put the call on, the guy's going to actually get the bunt down. Sometimes you get into a situation where you have a runner on second base and no outs, and maybe that hitter's not good at hitting the ball to the right side to advance the runner to third, and a bunt's your best option. That way he bunts it, the guy gets to third, and now he's only 90 feet away from scoring. So I think that's a really important part, is know who the good bunters are. Make sure your team is practicing bunting. Also work on hitting the balls to opposite field, so that way which to do. But I think that having a bunt and putting a bunt play on is very disruptive a lot of times for the defense, because a lot of teams don't work on bunt coverages. You go to lay a bunt down, next the first baseman charges, the second baseman forgets to cover first, and now the guy throws it in, and throws the ball away, or the third baseman stays, the pitcher comes over, and they don't know what to do. So I do think that there's a time and a place for bunting. Just make sure that you do practice it. But I think that runner on second base and no outs, that's pretty much the best situation of when you're going to call a bunt, trying to get that runner over to third base. But I think that, bunting is a huge part of the game. Just make sure you practice it, because there's nothing worse than putting the bunt sign on, a kid fouling it off or taking a pitch, and now he has one strike, and now he's, now you're wondering, do I put it on again? Do I not put it on again? Now he fouls one off, the guy ends up striking out, and you're like, I should have just had him hit. No, he should have got the bunt down. So make sure you practice bunting and make sure that your players are confident and comfortable with bunting. But I think it's definitely a good tool, especially your fast guys. Bunting for a base hit, when you see the third baseman playing real far back, a bunt's like an automatic hit. So to be able to have your players, bunt for a hit is a huge weapon for a lot of players. So
yeah, I think you're going to get to a point too where they're going to have to know how to bunt down the road. They might be the 3-hitter right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the 3-hitter in middle school or in high school. And I remember I was in spring training in 2012, and Jerry Hairston, he always made us bunt before we hit in the cages. And I mean, we had our cleanup hitter up there bunting, and guys didn't know how to bunt. And he always used to say, you might not need to bunt now, but trust me, at some point you're going to have to get a bunt down. He always told us a story that there was a guy, he batted third in rookie ball, in short season A, single A, double A, triple A. He batted third on every team he was on throughout the minor leagues. Never bunted, but he had to practice it every day. He got his first call up to the big leagues, and he was batting eighth that day. And his first big league at bat, he had to get a sacrifice bunt down, and he got it down. And he told us that story every single time we were out there. We're in Arizona, it's 105 degrees, and nobody wanted to practice bunting. But again, I mean, obviously that's at the highest of levels. Even at the youth levels going into high school, there's going to be times you have to get a sacrifice bunt down. And it's like Duke said, it's important to be able to know how to bunt, even though you might not use it that often.